Multiple persons trapped as four-story building collapse in Abuja. A four-story building in the Garki area of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, collapsed on Monday night, leaving many people reportedly trapped under the rubble. An eyewitness told newsmen that there is a possibility that there could be some people inside the collapsed building who may have died, according to the eyewitness. So then there was a case of collapse as well in Abuja on Friday, and it is looking like this thing is happening back to back at the Federal Capital Territory, and we are wondering what exactly has gone wrong, what is going wrong, what is causing all of this collapse. So I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, you see, this thing happening sometimes is from the failure of the government and also failure of an individual. Now, let me take it from the individual segment.
Okay.
Now, if you don't have what it takes to do a thing, don't do it, especially when it has to do with building. All right, we know that it's quite expensive to build now. All right, now, if you don't have the capacity to build story building, build bungalow. All right, let it be something that you can afford and let it be rigid. All right, now we see cases in Abuja where you go to block industry, their block, the sand is more than the cement, just because of the high cost of cement now. All right, so I want to believe that as an individual, go for what you can afford. All right, it mustn't be 10-story building, it mustn't be a 12-story building. Go for what you can afford. Now, sometimes you go on some construction sites, you visit some construction sites, you will see, some little boys, working on site. People who are not experienced, just because you are looking for cheap labor. All right. So sometimes when people do these things, these are the resultant effects. And on the side of the government, there is a body that is in charge of checking the capacity, the strength, the rigidity of any structure. But what we see is that most of the times you see a building being marked. Before, after some months, you see work will continue. It's not as if anything was done just because somebody has gone to pay. Once you have received money, whether the structure is illegal or not, is strong enough or not, they allow them to continue the work. So if we as an individual can first begin with what you can afford, check the blocks you are using to build, right? Because where you are getting block, the same amount they will sell the fake one for you, in the same amount you're still going to buy it somewhere else where they have the strong block. Check your block. Check. Sometimes it's good to have thorough, good supervisor on site to ensure that people who are working are using the material, the right equipment. All right. So judging from where this thing is coming from, FCT Abuja is not a good one at all, and that is bringing me to ask, what is Wike doing? He is the minister. All right, what is he doing to checkmate this thing that is already happening back to back in Abuja? Collapse of it. There was a time that it was almost every month in Lagos. Now it's in Abuja. What is happening? What is the federal government, doing to ensure that this thing, is put to a stop? Now they cannot even tell the number of people. They say multiple people trapped. They can't even give the accurate number. Only God knows how many people have souls are lost in this incident. Right. So the failure of the government is there, and also the failure of individuals is equally contributing to this incident.
You see, I would always talk about how difficult things has become now. I think in February, there was a story then where engineers came out and they said due to the cost of cement, the cost of iron rod and all of that, and they did their calculation and they saw that they can actually use bamboo in place of iron rods. And some of them resolved to using bamboo in place of iron rods then because of how expensive it was. But even now, even the bamboo that they are resolving to using, bamboo as well is now very expensive. So it's come back to how expensive things has become that make people go to for cheaper products to produce their goods. So if price of things are stabilized, there will be no need for people to manage their resources. So we see that people are managing what they have now to build, and we'll still not attribute all of the blame too much on the federal government. Why? Because you should be able to cut your coat according to the materials that you have, because now it's not according to your size. If you have a 2 yards cloth, you can't, as a fat person, you can't use it to do a dinner gown. Just do something that you know your 2 yards will be able to take care of. And coming back to the minister of the FCT here some wiki, he's talking about creating infrastructure back to back. Now, the thing is, what are the regulations that they are putting in place to ensure that the already made infrastructure are of standard? And it come back to the question on what is the standard that people make use of to build in the country. So we see that individuals will just buy their land, go into building without there's no standard, there's no government standard on what you should be using to build your house to ensure that it's met up with our state. For instance, if you go to the UK now, the UK is okay, if you go to, let's look at China. China's standard is skyscrapers. So when you go to China, most of their standard is skyscraper and all of that. If you go to Dubai, they are measuring up to China's standard, ensuring that where they are building high-rising building. But Nigeria, you don't have a standard. Anybody can just get a land and build whatever they want on that land. So it's come back to the government. What standard are you creating for your people to build their houses? You are not giving them the money, but what standard are you measuring up to? So there are no standard. And where there is no standard for something, people do whatever they feel like doing. So that would be all that I would say. But I would like to hear your final thoughts on the story. Preventive measures. What can people do in cases like this?
The preventive measure we should be looking at, I always say that safety begins with us as an individual. All right. You as a person, like I said earlier, it mustn't be 10-story building. What you know you can afford, and if you know that based on the cost of building now, you can't afford to build now, whatever we're experiencing now is not permanent. All right, so you can always wait till when you can afford to build. All right, because sometimes these buildings are things that they are meant to let out. All right, you don't know the weight, the measures of properties that the people that are coming to live in these apartments are coming with. Right, so we should build something that is strong enough. And how long is this thing going to stand? So we should always do things that we can afford to do. And the people that the sector that are in charge of managing and ensuring that structures are in alignment, just like you say, standard. They should. There's a sector for that. All right, but the thing is that most of the time, like I said earlier, you see buildings being marked. All right, maybe based on one error or the other. But they will see this, you have the building, and before you know it, work goes on again, meaning that somebody have cleared ground. All right, so we shouldn't just be concerned about what we build the people to pay. It's about the safety of people the people that will occupy that building in the future. All right, now this case now I'm so pained because we can't even say that okay, two people were trapped or two persons were trapped. They can't even tell. Right, and these are life we are talking about wasting as a result of our negligence. Right, this thing can be averted so that we don't keep having these issues like this.
All right. On this note, this is all that we can take on the segment of the newspaper review for today. And before we leave the studio, we'd like that you follow us on all our social media platforms. On Facebook, we're Prime Media TV. On Instagram and TikTok, we're Prime Media Studios. On the website where you're currently watching us, we're enginespeak.com. And you can do well to follow us on YouTube at Enginespeak. I am Ayo. Until I come your way again, to have a great day.